Hey everybody! All right, so we got a good episode for you today. Talk about some kind of results we had, but more importantly, the strategy that we kind of used today. So, number one, we had a good day today. Went up about 7%, but a little short of. It was at 10,000. It was at 10,000 at one point. Pretty darn close to it. So, ended there. So, we're going to talk a little bit about our strategy and kind of what we're looking at. So, specifically, we'll start with um, kind of movement. So overall, let's do movement ranked. All right, so we had one big drop, AVCT. We're going to talk about that. And if you've been following this podcast for a while, you understand what this yellow means. So that's going to be a hint for those who have been watching this podcast for a while. But beyond that, that went down 25% over the weekend. Really 3, 1, and 0% for the most part. Everything else went up. As far as the big winners today, take a look at NXTD, which is our cybersecurity stock, the one that's been up and down over $1 for a long time, the one that's been on my sell list for a long time, went up 50% today. So we had talked a while ago, even before the Delta variant of phobia, or Delta phobia, as we talked about, that when we have a big gain, we're going to take the gain and liquidate the position if we can in certain areas. So we did that today. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Doge, the same thing, went up 22%. Bitcoin, we're adding to the list. A little bit of hint on what's coming up a little bit later. Bitcoin Cash went up 15%, and PVAC went up 10%. So that's our oil stock. So everything else is under 10%. We look at it over the for the last 2 days. AVCT, Wish, which is that online marketplace, down 10%. We're going to talk about that one a little bit. Everything else is under 10%. RDI, ANC, we're going to talk about that today as well. As far as gainers, kind of the same crew, NXTD, Doge, Bitcoin Cash. Actually, DraftKings was up 13%. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. Ellis Gaming, up 12%. And a couple of the cruise lines went up 11%, but that was really yesterday for the most part. So specifically, we have a lot of movement. So we had some gainers today. So we sold our shares in NXTD for 115, and we actually did that in real time today. End at 116, so pretty much perfect, exactly where we want to be. Dogecoin went up partially, and this is why we're talking about Bitcoin a little bit. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Because Amazon is rumored to be in talks about accepting Bitcoin. They actually had an offer of a job opening where there was like somebody for like cyber or cryptocurrency. They were looking to hire somebody for that. So, I mean, if Amazon takes Bitcoin, this thing is going through the moon. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Yuko, which is our oil ETF, we have 200 shares. We sold 100. For 77, which was perfect. It ended just shy of that today. And then Golden Entertainment rather. They do casinos. We sold 50 shares today for 45 bucks. Ended at 46.80. Almost sold at 47 right here. But I decided to actually cancel that order because I'm going to let this ride a little bit. I figure if the casinos are going up, we sold some of it, took a little bit of money off of that, but we're going to let the upside go for there as well. And then AINC, that's the Ashford Trust. No, not Ashford Trust. This is just Ashford, kind of the hotel and entertainment chain. We had one for sale at 22 for 250, which was all our shares there. But I decided not to do that. We're only at 1730, so I can always reinstitute that later if I want to. So that being said, we sold a total of, 9, 14, 5, 15, 22, 24. It's about $25,000 today. Freed up some cash. And then we put in a nice little, we're very active in setting up buys today. So specifically what came in today and over the weekend, Clean Energy, we put a buy in at 260, put a buy at 650. It actually executed and then went back up to 776, so that's beautiful. It's exactly what we want to see. PBF, we put an offer in it, or put in a buy order, and it executed at 1025. This is still, and I think we talked about this maybe last time, but it's still a little bit below that, but we'll be fine with that. And then Cinemark put in a buy at 1575. I think we did that. We did do that Friday. and it's up at 1665. So, all right. So that being said, we'll clear that out. Then I'll clean the rest of it up a little bit later. So we put in a buy for AINC. I figure if we talked about really buying into the fact that things are going up, that we want to put some buys. And one of the rationales that we looked at today, beyond what we already know, I mean, looking at things from a street smart perspective and just understanding how really everything works. I saw this one article. Morgan Stanley said that there's no need to lower the GDP forecast on Delta variant risk. So the backdrop on that is people are worried that if the Delta variant sticks around, that there might be some closings or people kind of get a little restrictive on their spending, and it just takes longer for everything to get back to normal. And so the GDP goes down, and what the price targets are for certain stocks go down, and that we're not going to get the same return. So what Morgan Stanley said was you don't need to lower the GDP forecast for the Delta variant risk. That's how hot this market is. That's how it's going to be bigger and stronger and more robust than we can even imagine. And even though all these stocks have a lot priced into them, there's so much put into them that even the threat of a Delta variant tamping down on GDP said you don't even need to do that. It's going to be totally fine. So with that being said, we put a whole bunch of buys in today. AINC, it's sitting at 1730. We put an offer at 1650. DraftKings, which is the one we have the least amount invested in, 1350 basically. It's up 44%, but with that small of amount, I don't really care. I'll raise the price target or cost base a little bit. So we put $46 a share, 100 shares, close to $5,000 on it. So we just want to get a bigger exposure because when the football season starts, and it's coming around, training camps are starting this week. When the football starts in earnest in September, these stocks I think are really going to take off. So Corsair, the gaming company, this is one we're probably going to liquidate at some point. So we're going to collar this a little bit. So our cost base is about 34. It's sitting at about 30. We're down 12.5%. If it goes up, we sell the shares. Okay. If it goes down, we have a buy-in at 29. So for me, I might even lower this a little bit. Put this to highlight. We might lower this to 28 just to give us chance for maybe a down day and not absorb any losses. And if it doesn't hit, so be it. So it's just insurance. So if we put it at 28 and it doesn't drop to 28, it means we're really capping the drop that it has. And if it goes up, then it goes up. So, and if it goes below that, we get a nice buy. Beyond that, we're doing 3 cruise lines here: Norwegian, Royal Caribbean, and Carnival. So Norwegian, we have about 4,300 in there. Let's see, Royal Caribbean, 4,500, and Carnival, let's see, about 4,100. Carnival's down 1%, so pretty much break even on that one. Let's see, Norwegian's down about 10.5%, and Royal Caribbean's about 10.5% as well. So with that being said, we bought 3,000, 3,000, and 3,000 each of those. Definitely want to invest more in the cruises as the economy opens up, especially when we read articles like we just read. AVCT, normally I wouldn't even consider buying it, but if we look at the fact that it dropped 25.50, I kind of wanted to get a sense on what that meant as a long term. So it wasn't really on our radar to buy, but it's one that we had before and we sold. So I want to get a sense on where things stand. So when we bought it before, sold it at 390, basically didn't make much off it. It's sitting here at 454, so it's still above where we were having it before. So we took a look at it from a year perspective. Kind of went up and down and up and down. Highest it got was 925, and then it spiked up to about $8, and then it's been sitting here around 620. And then if we look at the last month, it's been meandering around 8 or 580, and then it just absolutely, the last couple days, went from 610 all the way down to 450. So with that being said, I don't necessarily want to buy it yet because we haven't seen the floor yet. So 436 is really where it floored out today. It's sitting at 454. So I figure if it goes down to 4, then we'll put a buy in for it. But it really has to earn that buy. And if we don't get it, we don't get it. It wasn't on my radar before, so it really doesn't bother me too much. Red Robin Group, same thing. This is one that we have about 5,000 in there. It's down 10%. I figure if we put something in there, this is one that's definitely going to be like the perfect stock where you're going to see the Delta variant not impacting things. So if it gets down to 26.50, kind of a big ask a little bit, but if it gets down to 26.50, we'll put in a buy-in for that. RDI, Reading Industries, those are our movie theaters. With that one, we have about 3,300 in there. It's up 20%, so I don't want to put a huge buy in there, but just enough to beef up what we own on that. So we're going to put basically 2,500 in, buy it at $5 a share. It's sitting at 5.56. If it doesn't go through, it doesn't go through. If it gets down to 5, we'll do it. And then Bitcoin. So this is the one that we really wanted to talk about today. One, because we sold off a bunch of stuff, so we freed up some cash so we can actually make a meaningful investment in this. But basically, the long and short of it, we look at 3 months, and it got up a little higher than that, but it got up near 60, and then we look at it over the last week. It was sitting around 29, got up to 39, and then dropped back down. It kind of goes up and down, sitting about 36, 37, and I thought, I don't have to buy it. But if it goes down to 30,000 again, we'll put a buy-in again for that. And depending on what we do with this, we might actually shift some money from some of these buys if we decide not to do those and actually put a little bit more into Bitcoin. Because if that Amazon thing goes through, this thing is going to go absolutely nuclear. I mean, it's just going to go ballistic. So that's kind of what we look for. So we have about $33,000 in buys we're ready to do. We'll see if they go through or not. They may or may not. But that being said, we went up 11,000 over the weekend. We're sitting here at about 343%, and our margin is only at 66,000. It was at like 95 before, so we're in a really good spot there. Overall, no big, huge numbers, but a couple things, a couple instances. AHT is down 18%. We'll see what I do with that. I still might put some more into that. AINC is down 10. Carnival's barely in the red. Clean Energy and Cinemark are at 20, but these used to be higher. Corsair only at 12. And then the only real big ones that we have here are Fuel Cell and Future FinTech. So Fuel Cell, I might put some money in, and we're going to see it go up. If that infrastructure bill from Biden goes through, especially if it gets rammed through by the Democrats, Fuel Cell is going to be a huge beneficiary of that one. Future FinTech, I don't know what to think about that, just to be honest, because China is absolutely cranking down they cranked down on some private education stocks, if there's such a thing in China. And then they were going after Jack Ma, so there's a lot of people that are just very hesitant and reticent, I guess they're kind of almost the same thing, to invest in China. So we'll see where that goes. But Xi Jinping is reining in all the billionaires that moved a lot of assets abroad, and he's just trying to keep them close to heel. So these might be the last 2 stocks I ever own, but we'll take a look here. Fubo, I think this is going to, they're doing sports betting on their platform. I actually just started watching that the other day. And when the sports betting hits, I think you're going to see this start to take off as well. This 28% drop is going to evaporate quicker than you can even imagine. So IVR, we're just going to wait until this hits black and then sell it. Norwegian, we just talked about that a little bit earlier. Penn National Gaming, again, down 25%, but when September hits, I think you're going to jump. You're going to see this jump, and we're really well positioned with 16 grand in that stock right now. So Royal Caribbean we talked about, Red Robin we talked about, Skills. Again, this is probably going to take a while to get there, but this one, they have an incredible leadership team. And if we look at this, it's a 67% buy, so it's definitely a really good stock. And then lastly, Verint. This one really hasn't moved at all, which just tells me it's primed for a resurgence, for a big, big pop day. It's 100% buy. So at some point, this is going to pop. And then we're going to just probably liquidate the stock on that big day and then free it up for some other things. So overall, that's where we stand. And then the updated projections that we have right here, take everything that we own here, plus our buys that we have here, and we are slated shooting for about 309,000 overall. We're only about 50% of the way there, and part of that's because 50,000 is there. But if we look at without these buys, we're at about 259. We're sitting here about 150, so about 66% of the way there. But I'm telling you, we are just absolutely primed as the big days come to position ourselves to make a ridiculous amount of money. And then the last one, I haven't really looked at this. This is basically our producers since the July, Delta phobia drop. So we'll take a fresh look at this. I haven't actually looked at this yet. So let's see. Bitcoin Cash, Golden Entertainment, and Next ID are in the black. So that's cool. In fact, we could probably just take Next ID out because we don't have a position in that anymore. Beyond that, let's take a look. Yuko's down 1%. Crestwood Equity, our oil stocks, 3%. And then the big ones still, let's widen this out a little bit so we don't have to go scrolling across. All right, HT down 60, and then the rest, the worst ones are about 37, 31%. And then, like I said, you see a dramatic drop. A lot of them in the teens right here that used to be a lot higher amount. So anyway, we've got a good plan. Take a look at these buys. And again, I give you a copy of this spreadsheet on the link that's in the video description. So make sure you click on that. You can download it and you can actually use this for your own as well. So with that being said, I will see you guys this week. And remember to check the Russell 2000 overnight just to see kind of where things are trending. To get more information on the sales cheat code, go ahead and click on the subscribe button below. Also, down below in the video description, down there, there's a link that takes you to our website that gives you additional content, some additional freebies that we have, and gives you information on some programs that we have that have been proven to help people to make sales easy so that you can make the kind of money you want, live the lifestyle that you've always wanted, and not have to struggle in the process. And what might be the coolest thing of all is you don't have to put much effort into it. It truly is a cheat code that most people don't know about. And it's a cheat code that can change your life today. So click on the link below and let me help you start to experience these results starting right now.